what's going on out there in the land of YouTube. Everybody do me a favor, hit the like button, it'll only take a second. They've created a system here in the United States that only works if you have a lot of money. When I was just at the grocery store just now, I realized that what's happening to the people, to us people, is they are trying to price us out of a livable existence. That's what's happening right now. They're trying to price us out of being able to live any kind of decent life. So they have us fighting about everything. You can wear braids, you can't wear braids. That's cultural appropriation, which, as you guys know, if you follow this channel, cultural appropriation is bullshit. There's absolutely no way a society can ever meld together if different races are saying, well, this is our thing and so you can't use it. Well, no, this is our thing, so you can't use it. It'll never work. It'll never work. So I believe cultural appropriation is a great big pile of dog poo. Now, don't get me wrong. White Europeans have culturally appropriated almost everybody's culture, because white Europeans, going all the way back to the 1455 palpable in Spain, for the dunce caps who don't know history, the Spanish Pope made an announcement where he said that you can go out into the world and explore it as a Spanish explorer, and you can conquer any lands and the inhabitants. So in other words, the people who own that land, the people who live in that, I mean, own is a new term from the social contract. You know, you're going to get the greed and the property ownership, though, from Jean-Jacques Rousseau's social contract, because then you're going to start to establish this thing called private property. And as soon as private property begins to establish, you're going to create a class system. And the way you create a class system is you say these people have and these people have not. And so what you end up with, people who have land, who have property, what they end up doing is, of course, working what you have is you have raw materials, the dirt, the minerals, the soil, the water, the oil. So people who have property, then you're gonna have people, because they have property, you need people to work on the property. So people will work on that property, and then they get some money from the people who have property and have wealth. And so if you go back to the beginning, the way that this country was set up, the way this country was founded on the principle of private property. So a lot of people, they'll say, down with capitalism, let's get rid of capitalism. It's impossible. The die has been cast. You can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. It won't work. As soon as you have private property, you're gonna have people who have and people who don't have. So then you're gonna create a class system, and just from this basic ideology that I'm sharing with you now, you'll start to understand how that class system is formed. The way it's formed is, if I have property, then you may work for me. And then you get a status by being the top worker, or now they call it the general manager. But you could, there's so many different ways. And once you become the general manager of the person who has, then the person underneath of you who works under you, the person, because you get your orders from me because I own the property. So you're my number one person. So, and back then it was men. So you're my number one guy. So then I tell you what to do, and then you tell other people. Now, naturally, what's going to happen? That's going to create a class system. And then there's going to be people who don't work for the property at all, but they hang around outside of the property because there's wealth coming out of the property. People are leaving there with paychecks. They have money. People are leaving there with goods. They've traded and bartered for goods inside that property. So as soon as you establish private property, and this is going to be Jean-Jacques Rousseau's social contract, this is where the idea that we're going to have private property comes from. This is the beginning of what you would call capitalism. So what's going on? What's happening? How come we go to the grocery store and the deodorant that I bought was $8? Why was my deodorant $8 today? I used to buy this deodorant for $2 or $3. So now you say to yourself, why is the price of meat and the price of deodorant and the price of water and milk and bread and eggs, how come, and eggs, they're killing off the chickens so that we have to supply and demand. So now, number one industry that gouges us the most, that rips off the American people the most, is the petroleum industry. Fossil fuels. That's the most gouging industry there is. And so what the other industries saw was that the oil industry could rip us off in amazing proportions, where price would be $6-7 a gallon, but they're making record profits. The oil industry rips off people around the world. It's absolutely incredible. So now what's happening today is companies all over the country, the big gigantic companies, what they're doing is, because they have the house and they have the goods, they have the raw materials, what they're doing is they're gouging us. They're ripping us off because they can get away with it, because there's absolutely no consumer protection agency in our government. There's no governance properly. And how do we know that? How do you know what I'm telling you right now is true? Well, let's go back to the Food and Drug Administration. The Food and Drug Administration in 1980, 89, somewhere in the 80s, the Food and Drug Administration changed the food pyramid to have 12 servings of carbohydrates. And they said that you're supposed to put insulin, you're supposed to put sugar in your body every 2 or 3 hours. Have a snack. That's gonna rev your metabolism, is what they said. It's actually the opposite. That's a total lie. If you sit and put sugar, which is any kind of potato chip, pretzel, sandwich, anything that has carbohydrates in it of any level, once you put that into your mouth, your insulin is gonna spike. And when there is insulin in your blood, your body cannot burn fat for fuel. So when you talk about that food pyramid of 12 servings of carbohydrates a day, what you're talking about is you constantly spiking your insulin, because it has to counteract the sugar in your blood or you'll die, as we know from diabetics. So your body never goes into a fat burning zone. So the Food and Drug Administration was paid off by Kellogg's, Nabisco, every Kraft, all of those companies. What happens in the food industry, the Food and Drug Administration, that's full of Kraft, Nabisco, Kellogg's executives, and it's an interchangeable job. They go from Kellogg's over to the FDA, and they're an executive in the FDA. Then they leave the FDA and they go back over to Kellogg's. It's really disgusting, really egregious. I'm trying to paint an entire picture for you guys so you understand what's happening. What's happening in our country is the people who have resources, they are gouging us. And I'm trying to explain how it works in great detail, because the reason you go to the store and deodorant is $8, $9, $10 is because the company is gouging us, and there's no consumer protection agency. There's none. There's nothing for us. There's absolutely nothing for us.